Hey, what's up, everybody? Kenny Lamons here with Medicare Millennials. I've got Ethan with me today. We haven't done an interview in a while. Um, so today we wanted to kind of recap a little bit of what our AEP looked like. And most importantly, we wanted to address the question, what's changed, what's working for us, what's not working for us, and is Medicare sales still a good business for new agents or insurance agents that want to add the Medicare business into their mix? So we're going to kind of touch on several topics here. We'll free flow it a lot, but we'll talk on, what leads and marketing are working, what's working less than it used to in the past. We'll talk about commissions and the longevity of running a Medicare business, or barrier to entry. How hard is it to get into this? If you're already in it, do you want to keep doing a local presence? Are you going to switch to telesales? We'll just kind of touch a little bit on everything. This is the YouTube channel for Medicare agents. So we're going to talk about if this business is still good in 2021. What's up, Ethan?
What's going on, man? Excited for these. These are one of my favorite things to do with you. So I'm excited to see what we can come up with today.
Yeah, so today is actually our 100th video that we'll be posting. Once we're done with it, get it all, put a bow on it, be our 100th video. So for those of you that have been watching us for a while, we appreciate it. For those of you that are this is your first video to catch with us. Me and Ethan are agency owners. We exclusively, for the most part, focus on Medicare sales. So we're all about building a large, successful book of business. We love just kind of sharing our journey with other agents. And hey, if they're interested, we do offer some coaching and some training and stuff as well. So feel free to reach out to us. Ethan's kind of the stud of the two of us. I don't know how he does it. He goes on vacation 4 or 5 months a year, still somehow pulls out, several hundred Medicare policies and a bunch of life insurance. So I'm sure you'll glean some things off of him today. I'm just I just tug at his coattails, more or less.
Yeah, right. Where I learned it all.
So Ethan, here's a good place to start just for a reference point. Realistically, what's kind of your goal? How many Medicare plans do you want to sell this year? What's your trajectory looking like so far for this year?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think last year my goal was 500, and I believe I got over that. I think it was right around 600 or so. I don't know if I'm going to have my foot on the gas that heavy this year. I still want to hit 500. 500 is the goal. I'm trying to add 500 brand new clients every single year to my book of business while maintaining what I've already done in the past. No sense in losing 2 and gaining 1 type deal. So we're working on, of course, retention and building that book. But man, a big focus, obviously, like we've shifted on to doing a lot of this, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot more agent interaction. We're getting phone calls. A lot of phone calls every single day, every single week. So the goal remains the same at 500. I just got to somehow squeeze a little bit more time out of my day to continue making time for other agents and continuing to provide this education here on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always we tell new agents all the time not to spread yourself too thin, really focus on the breadwinner, which still for us at the end of the day, that's the right Medicare policies first and foremost, and build that book.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned a couple of times this year is a little bit more. We're trying to automate a lot more. We're trying to get people to book our appointments and hire somebody that can take care of that back end work that really will sit there and eat at you and eat away at your time as well. And then kind of automating some of the the agent interactions that we're doing as well. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be spreading ourselves thin. If anything, I think we're going to be challenging ourselves this year to see what it is that we actually can do. Enough of the whole 30-hour work weeks, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So my goal is also to hit 500, but that's a great place to start here because we kind of had a bit of a hiccup, and I think it's a good place to start to kind of for this video to accomplish its goal, which is to tell you if it's still a good business to be in. So a bit of a hiccup that we hit, we had really a lot of trouble generating lead flow during AEP, and then we had a delay in our lead flow in January. We really didn't get our first batch of leads in other than, and we'll discuss this, we bought some Facebook leads to fill the gaps. We didn't get our direct mail leads in until nearly February. Mm-hmm. And so it takes a little while once you get that first batch of leads, Then we also had this huge, we were basically couldn't work this whole week. We live in Texas near Dallas, Fort Worth. Almost everybody's been out of power, some places even out of water. The roads have been real bad. So we kind of had a little bit of, oh man, this is setting us back for our trajectory of 500 plus plans per year. We had a delay in our direct mail. Do you kind of want to explain what happened there, and what are some things that you as a new agent can what can they learn from this and prepare for, to make sure they're always in a spot to do that number one most important thing, which is have prospects, fill your pipeline, be able to go see people?
Yeah, I believe, Kenny, you and I made an error. We did the thing that we always tell people not to do. We stopped dropping consistent leads right there towards the end of the year after AEP had ended. And then, of course, when we finally got that ramped back up, like you said, it's nearly February. So we've nearly missed an entire month of open enrollment period. What I'm finding, though, is even the leads that we are dropping, do we want to go into this just now? Like what we're finding as far as returns and things?
Sure. I would just real quick just expand on the consistency of direct mail, because what we had to do when we weren't consistent with it was we had to buy Facebook leads, which are okay, but you've heard us say a million times, they still don't have the caliber of lead as a direct mail lead. So just before you jump into that, just kind of expand on what anybody that wants to run a Medicare agency early on, the consistency of the lead flow.
Well, there's no secret that you and me love direct mail, and not that Facebook can't work. I've seen agents out there just absolutely murder it with Facebook leads, and kudos to them. That's just not what you and I do. So, man, what we try and tell everybody is it's super important to, on your direct mail strategy, the number one thing you want to do, and I don't care if you got a 3% return, 5% return, or a 0.5% return, you've got to pick a day out of the week that you are going to consistently drop a new direct mail strategy campaign every single week. For me, that's Wednesday. Every Wednesday before I do anything, I get on the computer, I log in, and I drop some leads first thing, or I drop a direct mail order first thing Wednesday morning. And so my first one for the year just came in last week, and I got I think I told you, a 1.08% return, which here in the DFW area is not very good. We should be getting a little bit closer to 2. But that doesn't discourage me. I just know that either A, I might have to consider a new lead piece, which we can talk about here in just a minute, or B, continue dropping. Maybe it was a bad week. Maybe it was a week like this week where it was super icy, couldn't get the mail or anything like that. There's just so many things that can really go into play here. So no matter how it turns out, good, bad, or anything in between, you got to consistently every single week drop that lead order, and that's going to keep that pipeline full. And you're not going to have to sit there and buy these Facebook leads and drive all over Kingdom Come like we've had to do here in January.
No, that's a great point. And look, direct mail is all about consistency. Some places get a stellar return, others get a modest or not so great return. There's still a high caliber lead. So even if you only got 13 or 14 in that week, I mean, hey, don't be scared to go knock on a door and you still find yourself selling 10 policies. Got some husband and wives in there. And also, just for clarity for anybody watching this that's newer, when he says he sits down, logs in, and he drops his lead order, we're using a vendor. So what he's saying is he's placing his order for the week with a third-party direct mail vendor. So a lot of you new agents can get your direct mail leads directly through your upline, or if they don't offer that, you can buy through a third party, which we have lots of videos on that. So speaking of the type of direct mail lead, we've been using one that's targeted at the LIS market, and it talks about, basically, can you qualify for Medicaid? Could you qualify for extra help with your prescription drug costs? And are you getting all of those extra and additional benefits that you may be eligible for? If you're interested in finding out what you're missing, basically fill this card out and send it back to us. So in a nutshell, that's what we talk about. We target a lower income, skews lower income, and we're really kind of enticing them with, hey, you hear about other people that maybe qualify for Medicaid, or they don't pay so much for their prescriptions, or they get dental, vision, and hearing on their plan. Do I qualify for that? And that lead's been really effective since we shifted to Medicare Advantage focus about a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years ago. What are you seeing now? So now we're placing our lead orders regular again. We're kind of trying to catch up towards our goal for the year. What about the lead piece itself and targeting that LIS demographic? Is it still effective in your opinion? What's changed? Where are we at on that?
I think it's always going to be effective. It's just how effective is really what we're gonna run into. Man, when we started this a year and a half ago, it was hot. That lead was hot. I mean, we were getting, I think you got a 5% return at one point.
It was 4 point something, but
yeah, I mean,
my areas.
That is absurd. And so it was very hot at a time. It was very good. It was very new. Clients hadn't seen, or I'm sorry, seniors hadn't seen it before. And every single time you would call these people, they go, well, I'm not getting the 144. I'm not getting the dental, whatever it may be. It was amazing. But what we have seen here lately, I mean, if anybody's been sitting in a house or sat down on a senior's table, you see on the commercials over and over, they're playing the exact same ad that we're dropping. I was sitting with somebody the other day and they had 3 of the exact same lead pieces, just a little bit different, all saying the exact same thing. And then in fact, I just showed you earlier, Kenny, I had a client that had sent me a picture of one and said, hey, is this legit? Is this something that I need to look at? Which, when you got a good client, that's an awesome thing to have. So what I'm getting at is that lead piece might be becoming saturated. And again, it's still effective. You're still going to get the people that want to know how Bobby Joe down the road is getting the free dental when he is not. You're always going to have those people. But are the days of, 3.5%, 4% gone? We might be looking at that. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it's a great point. Look, everybody's starting to run with it. Agencies and IMOs and call centers are always looking for the best way to market. They want to spend their dollars wisely. And that type of lead piece that's geared towards the low income about all the extra benefits and saving money, and it's been effective. And so everybody's kind of duplicating it. I agree with you. And a lot of the Facebook ads that are generated for Medicare agents are almost that exact same thing. And here's what was probably saturating it the most is that I've seen it seemed to me, if you had a generic direct mail piece, that was almost always mailed out by a face-to-face agent or agency, 90% of the time, at least for senior market, final expense insurance, Medicare supplements, and Medicare Advantage type leads. So the seniors were getting lots of mail, like a good amount, of course, but it was like that wasn't the preferred lead source for call centers. And, I can't prove that. This is just my experience. And so now I'm seeing call this 1-800 number to find out if you qualify for this. It's our lead type, our type of lead that an independent agent might use for face-to-face purposes, retooled for these call centers. So they're getting bombarded. Look, yeah, I kind of agree with you. We've got to recognize and realize that certain types of marketing to seniors goes in flows. We're not saying direct mail is ineffective or inefficient. We're not even saying that lead piece is ineffective. I think what we're saying is just recognize that we might always have to keep our eye on what's working best next, what could be on that lead card that differentiates you. But here we are. We still plan to run that lead card most likely the rest of the year, right? Unless we find something groundbreaking, we'll share it with you guys if we do. So knowing that returns are a little bit lower and that people have seen this more, it's not as novel. What are the pros and cons? Like, what can we do to still differentiate ourselves when we're calling to book an appointment or when we sit down with that client versus the million other advertisements saying the same thing to them? What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think you and me specialize in is that we're local, and I know most roads on where I work, so I can say, oh, you're right across the street from the HEB, you're right across the street from the Walmart, and that puts in their head that I am actually local, that I'm not somebody out of New York calling and and trying to sell them something. And I also, it's getting, we're getting old school here, but you and me still do face to face, and a lot of people don't want to do that, whether it COVID or whatever the case may be. A lot of people don't want to do that, don't think it's sexy or attractive. There's nothing attractive anymore about getting out of bed and going to work. It all seems to be, hey, let's lay on the couch and make money from in our pajamas. So we're still doing face to face. And man, I get a lot of phone calls throughout the week from agents wondering how I get so many referrals, how I'm able to generate so much of my own business without using leads. And I think it's just because it's my personal touch. I walk in there, I shake, I bump elbows, we have a cup of coffee, we do the things that matters most to that generation. Here in 10 years, it might be a little bit different. They might just want to do business over the phone, and you and me will have to transition. But right now, as far as I can see, that generation, for the most part, still enjoy doing business the old school way, shaking the hands, having a cup of coffee at the coffee table. And I really think that's kind of what separates us from, all the people that are calling them daily.
Yeah, 100% agree. So there's a million other people across the country, agents, agencies, IMOs, call centers, sending that same lead. And in a nutshell, what we do to differentiate ourselves is to be local, right? So I literally say this when I'm booking appointments. I know you see on the TV and on the radio just constantly about you can qualify for extra help, or you might not be getting all the additional benefits that you can get. But the difference is nobody really takes the time to sit down and explain to you what that means. And that's what I do. So I couldn't agree with you more that in a way it's a curse, but in a way it's a blessing, because while there are a lot of people trying to go at it the similar way that we're ultimately going to be able to win that battle against a call center 9 times out of 10 and have like a long, well-established client because we added that personal local touch to it.
Yeah. And one more thing I'd add that I forgot, the people that sell over the phone, maybe the client forgot a specialist or a drug or something, and it can very easily mess up. And so when you run out there and you're helping these folks, I still stand by it. Look, if I had a lead in New York City right now and I had to call it, I wouldn't know a single thing about any of the plans, any of the hospital districts, anything out there. I wouldn't have any clue. Yeah, nothing. I wouldn't have any. And so really this kind of piggybacks on being local. I am a plan specialist in this county. There's not going to be very many people out there, especially not people that are not from around here, that are better at the plans than me. And so when somebody's like, I got this awesome new great plan, brand new to town, I'm like, look, Mrs. Jones, I work for that company as well. Okay, remember, I'm a broker. But let me explain a little bit of what I've been seeing here in this county with that particular plan. And I will be 100% honest with you, and I'll tell you the truth. Not a lot of people have had a lot of success, or not a lot of doctors take that plan, or you're going to have some trouble with your drugs. So I think that's also an opportunity for us to kind of just portray ourselves and be the expert, which I think is very important.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into the next thing I was going to talk about in the industry. So we still have a big wave moving to telesales. I do believe it has its place. I've kind of, it's grown on me a little bit more. I'm not shifting to a full telesales agent, but I am, I have worked telesales and I do incorporate it into my business. It's still just, I'm predominantly face-to-face. But look, there's a lot of agents that want to get into this business that live in states or areas that maybe are more overcautious towards COVID, or maybe there's even still laws or regulations saying, you need to minimize face-to-face contact. Or maybe the people in that area, like I said, are just more overcautious. They prefer not to meet with you. And so in those areas, it may dictate that you need to do more of your business over the phone. What I would say, first of all, I want to just discuss in general and get your opinion on telesales versus face-to-face, the good and the bad for both. But then in general, I just want to give a little bit of advice. If you are going to go over the phone and you're new to this industry, I would still encourage you to do it locally, at the most statewide. But if you could, just pick a region where you can memorize and learn the nuances, like Ethan mentioned, of every single plan in those surrounding counties in that region. And then you can still get some of what we get, some of that local presence, the differentiator because of local touch. Like it's going to go a long way if you're doing a phone sale and you can say, oh yeah, Dr. Joe, I know exactly what plans he does and does not take or whatever. You can still get some of the advantage we're talking about if you have to do or want to do phone sales by still doing it somewhat locally or at the most statewide.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And then what are your thoughts just in general on the shift to telesales in the Medicare business, Medicare world?
First off, I don't want to discourage anybody from doing phone sales. I had a lot of success during COVID doing phone sales. And I'm just crazy enough, maybe I don't know, it's just stuck in my ways, but I'm crazy enough to say, although I saw great success, in fact, one month I broke some record, it's just not me. I personally don't enjoy sitting at home and working over the phone. I'm just not a phone agent, I guess, if that makes sense. So I never want to discourage anybody. I don't want to be watching this video in a year or two and go, man, I wish I'm not doing that at all. And in fact, I think it's excellent if people are going to start doing that. And I would really do what you just said, Kenny, as far as try to keep that local strategy. I mean, statewide in Texas is tough to even tough to even comprehend. That's huge, right? I mean, so if you were in a smaller state and you've got two large cities that you know a decent amount about, man, I'd say absolutely. That's an incredible thing to pursue. But there are some things that you need to be aware of. Several different tools that you need, resources, things like that you do need to have well before. And do we want to hop into any of that just yet, Kenny? Or
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So just tell, I mean, what you're just going to share what you think what you need to know before you get into telesales for Medicare?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things when you're talking to seniors, you got to have a way to differentiate yourself. You gotta be able to let them know somehow that you are not just the next guy calling. You're not the next guy. You're not the guy from Florida calling. You are a guy that hopefully you're here locally. You're here to take care of them. You're very familiar with that county. I had a call this morning, a lady, when I was booking appointments, the lady was like, I asked her who her primary care doc was. And she said the first name. And I said the last name. And she goes, you really are from here. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I've dealt with that doctor for 2 years now. I'm very familiar with, like you had mentioned, the plans that he takes. And so you gotta, that is just going to help you. To say you need that 100%, to be successful, absolutely not. And you're just it's gonna take that hill that you got to climb just a little bit lower. And that's going to get you one step closer to closing that sale. Another thing, have some good, you don't have to go buy the top of the line things, but man, if you're going to invest in telesales, have a good pair of earbuds or headphones or whatever it may be. Have a good internet service. Have a good way of writing things down. Like if you're writing needs assessments, or if you're writing on an iPad, you want to have a system or some structure there to be able to either refer back to that or close that deal or call that client back, whatever it may be. You want to have a good system in place, which is what I see a lot of telesales agents not have. And they end up just with a pile of paperwork and really they didn't get anything done. And so then I'll kind of let you get into no structure there. And it's tough. That's probably what I struggle with the most is I don't have structure sitting at home, but I know every day going in the field, I'm going to wake up, have my cup of coffee. I'm going to drive down the road. I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to show up to this. I just have that structure in place. And so maybe that's my problem is I don't have that structure when it comes to telesales just yet. A little long-winded.
No. Those are all good points. I think people don't realize when they're going to do telesales, you got to here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, it's awesome because you can technically, hypothetically, you can see your pool of people to talk to is bigger. Yeah. So even because if I was doing telesales, I wouldn't just do the DFW area. I'd probably do the Houston area, the San Antonio area, Austin area as well. So I would expand some. So you are going to have a bigger pool of people. You don't have all that window time. Some people really hate to put the wear and tear on their vehicle and everything. So there's like, I see the positives to that. And it
Of
maybe
course.
and it also alleviates any concern over this COVID stuff or weather related things or anything like that. So that's all great. But a couple of things that I would tell people to look out for. Number one, like Ethan said, is a structure. Don't you think that you're going to have to work less? But every time I've done telesales, I did a year of final expense telesales and a few months of full telesales Medicare. You work more, period. Because if I go in with a senior and we discuss Medicare plans, I can personally say, go grab your medicines. Boom, 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 boom. I write them all down. I can say, can I see your card? They just pull it out. I'm like, give it to me. Boom, boom, boom. Like I know exactly what they've got. It's easier in person to build rapport. So it's 5 or 10 minutes in, they're comfortable with me. I'm into the presentation or I'm into the needs assessment. When I'm in person, I can steer that conversation, not let people go down rabbit holes. When you're on the phone, it is an art. The people that are good at doing this, but it's not easy. These people have to go read you their medications, spell them out for you. They didn't have their card handy when they took your call. They're at the grocery store, or let's say you do have them at home. It's going to take a lot longer to build comfort and rapport with that lead because you're trying to differentiate yourself from just some call center pushing a product. And so I would say on average, my phone appointments were almost twice as long as my in-person appointments.
Bingo. I was booking an appointment this morning and I asked her, I was like, what is your secondary coverage? And she goes, well, give me 1 minute. I need to go get it. She was normally booking an appointment. I need to be off the phone about minute 4. 12 minutes in, which I can't believe I didn't hang up and just call her back in a little bit and move on. But 12 minutes in, she comes back and she's like, sorry, I had to go out to the car and get it. And then the dog got out and then this and this and this. Those are some of the things you're going to run into while doing telesales is like, kind of like Kenny said, it's just these people aren't focused. They aren't sitting down. They weren't ready or expecting your phone call. And like when we go into a house, I'm like, just hand me the Medicare card, hand me the secondary, give me your medication. I can sit there and do it all. I'm in more control. When you're doing telesales, you're leaving them a little bit more in control. And we know how, slow or time consuming that can be.
So a really important topic, if you're interested in getting into Medicare telesales, Ethan, you can still apply me and Ethan's sales process and even lead flow directly to telesales. You'll just have some nuance and some tweaks. And so feel free to reach out to us. We'll kind of tell you our success level doing it. And we don't want to discourage anyone from doing it. So another thing that you're going to need is Sunfire. Believe it or not, I know we kind of do the Medicare millennials. We're fairly young compared to a lot of agents in the industry. I've been in the senior market insurance business. This is my 6th year. And I did a lot of Medicare supplements and final expense early on. And it's like, I'm one of those guys that's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I don't like to introduce new carriers unless there's a freaking reason. If something's working, it's competitive. I just want to sell that product, and so if there's a new technology that's supposed to help an agent, I'm like I want to learn about it, but I'm the last person to adopt it. I'll let you go screw things up for a couple of months. And then once you figured it out, sell me on why I need it in my business. So I am the kind of guy how long did it take me to shift away from doing paper needs assessments? I just did a few months ago.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty certain I could walk into the office and you still got papers all over the place.
Still have paper needs assessments. I've moved to iPad. So Sunfire is a perfect example of that. I've fought it kicking and screaming, but man, is it a really cool and what it is it's an enrollment platform, quote and enroll platform for Medicare agents. You can do your quotes on there. It's not flawless. Like you still have to go check with the carrier websites, but does a really good job, lets you get away from Medicare.gov for some things. And you can even enroll in it. And it allows you to send a text message to get your scope signed, send a text message to get the signature for the enrollment. This is a must-have tool for telesales agents. So while you're shopping and looking for an upline or a partner or an IMO, FMO, make sure if you're going to do telesales, they do have Sunfire and they'll provide that to you for free. Anything else you want to say about Sunfire? That's just a little bit of advice for anyone. In fact, if you're a field agent, you're going to come in and do face-to-face. I still want you guys to learn the individual carrier websites, but I don't think it's a bad idea once you kind of have that down to do most of your enrollments through Sunfire as a field agent. Kind of puts everything in one little box for you. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was one of the first to adopt it. I just, 5 years ago would not have worked because it has email capability and text to sign capability. So 5 years ago, asking a client to shoot you a text, it was just so foreign, it wouldn't have worked. Today, guys, more people are texting than you realize. You're going to have those that are, I don't really mess with it, but you can, right, Mr. Jones? Yeah, I can. Okay. So it's amazing. I mean, if you decide to do telesales or you get a referral from somewhere and you can't get out there, and you still want to get them taken care of, man, it's a no-brainer. You can sit there and say, look, we're going to be doing it this way. After you decide what you're going to do for them, you can text them the scope, send it back, text them the application, sends it back, and it automatically sends it up to the carrier. You don't have to do anything after that. And so it won't allow you to mess up. If there's something that you need to fill in that is needed, it won't allow you to go to move forward. So it's a no-brainer. Like you said, for telesales and face-to-face agents, I'm using it a lot more now because it keeps up with my scopes and my appointments and my clients all in one little spot. So it's an awesome tool.
So I wanted to touch on real briefly commissions, and I can just give a quick little spill and then let you touch on it. So since the purpose of this video is about if this business is still good in 2021, which I think so far the consensus would be it is. So just talk about commissions in the Medicare world. And I think that'll lead us into talking briefly about cross-selling. So here's the good news. Commissions went up this year. So, I mean, it's across the board, there was I don't know if it's exactly what the terminology, if it was a cost of living raise or whatever, but period, across the board, commissions for Medicare Advantage sales went up so in most states, it went up to 270. What was it last year? 240?
255, I think.
255. Yeah. So it went from 255 to 270. So what that means is if somebody already has Medicare, you just change them from one plan to another one that's going to work better for them. The yearly commission for that is $270. Okay. And then this is per calendar year with Medicare Advantage. So in the next January, after you sold that policy, you're going to get the 270, not up front because you already got fronted a 1-year commission, but you're going to get it monthly. So $22.50 a month there on out, as long as they stay on the plan. So a couple of points here. And then just so you know, if they're brand new to Medicare or new to Medicare Advantage, it'll be double that the first year, but it'll be the same for renewals, $22.50 a month. So a couple of points to that. Number one, this is obviously a long-term business. Like if you're a crusher and a killer in final expense, your very first year, you're going to take a pay cut because not for sure, because some people sell a lot of new to Medicare people. But most likely, if you ran the same number of appointments for Medicare versus same number of appointments for final expense, that it's going to be lower cash flow, but way better long-term, right? Because you're going to have that forever potentially renewal of $22.50 per month per policy on the books. So you've got to think about that in this business. It is the mid to long-term play, not the short-term play. And then also it's just kind of encouraging that we are seeing commission increases. So there's some value to that. What are your thoughts on commissions in this business, and what kind of advice would you give to new agents looking to get into this?
Yeah, like you had mentioned, it's always encouraging to see that commission is going up and taking care of us, because you think about it, what is that? $15, $255. Math is terrible. Is that $25?
For what?
270 minus 255, $15.
Yeah.
Well, you got 1,000 clients, you got a $15,000 raise, this year for doing nothing. So think of it that way. That's how I look at it. One thing that I like to let you guys know about as well is, so what Kenny's talking about, when you get the 270, it's when you write somebody during annual enrollment period and they go effective of January 1, you're going to get that $270 up front. And then let's say it's today, it's February 19th, and I'm able to fix somebody's situation, put them in a different plan effective March 1. Well, how are you going to do that? There's several ways to do the math, but it is $22.50 per month, but it's going to start in March. So you're going to get paid from March until December. Okay. So you're going to get 10 months. Yeah. Advanced. All right. And then the next year let's just say you talk to Mrs. Jones during annual enrollment this year, 2021. She's good. Don't want to switch. Everything's been working for her. Fantastic. Come January of 2022, you'll get $22.50, assuming it doesn't go up. And then of course, the new to Medicare and Medicare Advantage, that's an excellent thing. I focused nearly 100% on Medicare last year, and I had a record year. I did more business. Now, I was no stud in final expense. I wasn't out there making $200,000-$300,000 a year, but I was consistently hovering around that six-figure mark, really low six-figure, and I smoked that this last year. So, man, if you're out there seeing the people, you're going to run into those folks that are brand new to Medicare Advantage. You're going to find those people that are like, man, I've been hearing about it. And my friend Bobby Joe's got it. Everybody's got it. And I just, maybe they had a supplement, or maybe for whatever reason they have original Medicare. You run into those folks, and they just need you to get out there and explain it to them and almost give them that peace of mind knowing that, hey, look, I think you're going to make the right decision by going this route. But worst case scenario, you've got me. I live 20 miles down the road. Should anything mess up, you can always reach out to me. So, yeah, I mean, for those guys that are out there killing it, kudos, but take a look at second year. Take a look at that renewal and then sit there and ask yourself, do you want to do this every single year for the rest of your life? Or do you think you might be able to take a year or two back as far as income, and then in 5 years, make more money than you ever thought possible? That's kind of the route that you and me have decided to take, Kenny. And man, I tell you what, after year one, there's no going back for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So what about cross-selling for newer agents? Because to be fair, when we shifted over, by no means, Ethan and I don't claim to be, millionaires or anything. Well, I think we're well on our way with what we're doing. But our first years in the industry, we were young and dumb and learning a lot. And we were in some kind of weird captive situations and jumping around after that, trying to figure out what our niche was. I mean, we really got around the six-figure mark pretty early, but we really didn't take that next step until really like right about now. We're kind of exponentially growing because of our niche down on Medicare. But the point of me saying that is, although when we shifted our focus to Medicare and a lot of Medicare Advantage, we weren't just sitting on money bags, especially not me. I've got a wife and kids, just bought a house before that and 2 young kids and yada yada. My wife's a teacher, so it's not just a ton of revenue there. But we did have enough money in me and you as a small agency had saved money for this type of thing to help us get launched. So if we had renewals from final expense and Medicare supplements and dental plans and things we'd sold in the past, even though it wasn't huge. So I guess what I'm getting at is, for those agents that have nothing, they're ready to quit their job. They're fed up with it. They're like, I know I can do this. I don't have a penny to my name. Maybe they got a couple grand saved up and they want to get into this. What kind of cross-selling do you think is okay, but knowing that we like to learn one thing at a time? Or do you think they should go the final expense route for a year and then cross over into Medicare? Like, what would your advice be there on cross-selling? Who's it for? How do you get into this business without it?
That's a tough question. And I've been asked that, 100 times. And my answer is probably different every single time, but it is dependent on who we're talking about here. Guys, the reason that Kenny and I were able to do what we did last year as far as focus solely on Medicare is, we had experience. We knew what the folks wanted. We knew how to get in the houses. We had all that background. All we had to do was just sell the product. And so that really paved the way for us to really just walk in and sell. So that allowed us to scale up quickly. So when you're selling 10, 15 Medicare policies a month, nobody can live on that cash flow. I mean, that's such a small amount of money, especially when you're reinvesting back into leads, wear and tear on vehicles, oil changes, things like that. There's just it's not a whole lot of there that you can get away with as far as money. So, man, I always think it's a great strategy to learn final expense, because final expense, I think, as Dave Duford says, it's not tough, but it is easy, I think is what he says. I may have that backwards. And he's so right
So it's
on
not
that.
easy, but it is tough.
It's not easy, but it is tough. I knew I was going to have that backwards. And it's so right, man, that if you can learn how to sell final expense, get in the game, because that upfront commission on final expense is huge. It's a lot bigger than Medicare is, but of course, on the back end, the renewals are much smaller. And so if you can learn the final expense game and build yourself a book of business, there really aren't any, there isn't much red tape around final expense like there is on Medicare. And that's not discouraging anybody. There isn't all that much red tape, but there isn't that much red tape. So if you could get in there and just hustle for a couple of months, get that cash flow up, then you could turn around with those same exact people that are already clients. You can turn around and sell them their Medicare. All you got to do is find a special election period. All you have to do is call them and say, Mrs. Jones, this is Ethan. I helped you out with that awesome final expense plan a couple of months ago. How's it going? Great. Excellent. Well, just to let you know, I just added on Medicare last month, and I've been helping a lot of folks out with their Medicare plans, whether it be saving money or whatever it may be. Do you mind if I come talk to you for a minute? And they already know, love, and trust you. And so absolutely get in there. And you may not be able to make the sell. Maybe there's no SCP, special election period. Maybe there's no, maybe they're in the very best plan. But what that's going to do is that's going to give you exposure. And that's going to give you some time to figure out doctors, figure out drugs, figure out carrier websites. Those are always fun. Figure out applications, things like that. It's just going to give you that time to really get that figured out. And then come annual enrollment period or whatever time you get in the year, the big time of year, you'll be ready to go with your feet running on the ground.
So, I talk to a lot of agents every week that reach out to us through our channel. And then just through people we meet in the industry, friends in the industry. We're always trying to meet other agents. So I tell a lot of people that are coming from somewhere where they don't have a ton of cash saved, or they don't have like a spouse that makes good money, like they're going to need this new business venture to also pay all their bills and everything all up front. I always tell people one of two ways to do that, guys. Actually, there's one of three. Okay. Number one, keep a job. Maybe you can get a job where you work remotely and it only takes 30 hours a week. Or maybe you can get a job where you get 3 to 4 days off in a row, a couple of times a month. And then, so basically somehow or another, work a part-time job to pay your bills, buy leads as often as you can, even if that's once a month, spend $500 on leads, go work them hard and learn the business and start saving that money. Okay. That's one way. Nothing wrong with that. You got to be committed, because if you're only doing it once a month, you really got to do a ton. You really got to be out there doing it, or else you'll just find yourself putting it off and you'll never actually transition out of the job into the Medicare business. So part-time job, start doing it on the side, but treat it like it's the most important thing. It's more important than your regular job. Okay. So you can get into it as fast as possible. Option number 2, learn final expense. We work with David Duford on final expense. All of our final expense contracts are through him. Full disclosure, we really already knew how to sell final expense as good as any other agent before we started working with Dave. But I wish I would have had somebody, been working with somebody like that early on to help me learn final expense quickly and effectively. So start with final expense. Don't even think about Medicare for 3 months. Okay. Really learn final expense, get out there, buy leads, and just start getting cash flow, good commissions, high cash flow, learn a little bit about the business. And then it might take you 6 months. It might take you a year and a half, but somewhere along there, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to start seeing my clients learning Medicare. And as soon as possible, I'm going to transition to full-time Medicare and just cross-sell final expense when I can. So that's 1, 2, 3. You can just put it all on a credit card, borrow the money and say, hey, I'm just going to reduce my expenses as much as possible, move in with the in-laws, put the lead costs on a credit card. Because when your back's up against a wall, you tend to come out swinging. You have no other choice. I'm not saying I encourage or recommend that one, but those are 3 ways you can get into the Medicare business if you have no savings or you have no other cash flow. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, just one other thing that I'd failed to mention, when we're talking about final expense for the folks that are new to this is typically a small life insurance policy that is pays out upon somebody's death. And it's usually for folks, 55 all the way up until 85. So what you'll notice is most of the folks that have a final expense policy or interested in a final expense policy or want one, they too are also on Medicare. So these clients are the exact same. So Kenny made an excellent point. Get in there, sell that final expense, keep record of these people's date of birth. And then, like I said, when it comes time to annual enrollment or open enrollment or whatever time on the Medicare side of things, you're going to have that list. Let's say you have 50 clients. That's where Kenny and I started in Medicare, is our Medicare Advantage journey is from our book of business, from our final expense. So you may only have 50 clients. You take a look at those birthdays. Well, damn, 45 of them are on Medicare, or at least Medicare age. And again, they know, love, and trust you. Man, that is your first 45 sales right there. So that's super important. And once you get that taste of Medicare, you get it all figured out. Like I said, you iron out all the wrinkles and you get familiar and comfortable with it. It's going to be game over for a lot of people, because that's when you fall in love. That's when you get really good at it.
Couldn't agree more. So let's kind of wrap this up. We've been at it, I think, at least 30 minutes or so. I think so. Back to the title of the video is, is Medicare business still any good in 2021? There's a lot of people scared, and we can do a separate video about this, about like the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world kind of incorporating broker services. And hey, that's going to be an obstacle in some ways. But I think if I could summarize my view and where we're at in the Medicare business, I think it's a great time to get into the Medicare business. I think it right now provides a unique time to be a local personal advisor. Personal, that's the word there. Personal advisor to folks on Medicare. Even if you do it over the phone, there's a lot of really cool ways that you can do Facebook ads that are personalized. You do a short educational video and market yourself as local and have that personal touch. It's a unique time right now, as everything shifts to call centers or broker services through a giant company, for you to carve out a niche where you're in. I mean, they are so tired of these 1-800 phone numbers. They love when you walk into their life. I think that the commissions are excellent for what you do, because there's very minimal service work, just a little bit here and there. And I think that although there are a few obstacles that we're all going to have to overcome with this transition, it's more, if anything, I think there's more positives for you to get into the Medicare business. What are your thoughts on kind of just that big topic there?
I think there's never been a better time than now. And why I'm saying that is like everything, there's so much information out there. Everybody's saying everything about something, especially when it comes to Medicare. TV commercials, Facebook, newspaper, advertisements, friends, family. And what that does is that almost overloads these people. It's overwhelmed, because, man, when I'm calling to set appointments, it's almost like, yes, please come out here. Please explain this to me. I don't understand. I'm confused. Somebody else has something better than me. I need to know why. And that's when you step in, kind of like you said, Kenny, that's your niche. And man, these clients are going to be with you forever if you sit down, explain it to them, and help them understand, what it is that they have, don't have, can qualify, can't qualify for, things like that. And again, guys, you're just the service work on these people, on these clients is minimal. It's a phone call every quarter. It's if you're in the area, you got a minute, stop by and say hello. I called a few people during this whole snowstorm thing. Hey, you need some water? You warm? You good? Things like that. It's just very minimal. So again, I just don't think there's any better time than right now to hop into the Medicare space, because these seniors need it more now than they ever have before.
Love it, man. I always love getting together when me and you actually correspond back and forth. You guys out there that are still sticking around, I know not very many people make it to the very end of the video, but if you are watching this, do know me and Ethan do have opportunities for people to kind of let us be a strategic partner for you as you get into this business. So feel free to reach out to us on, we always put the link to our website below. And if you guys like this format, I think we're going to try at least once a month to just bring somebody on and interview them and do a little bit more of a long form general conversation instead of our smaller bite-size informational videos. So if y'all like it, just recommend any long form topics you'd like us to talk about in the future. Anything you want to close with, Ethan?
One last thing, if you're not much of a YouTuber, which I guess wouldn't make sense seeing this is on YouTube, we just created an Instagram account as well, and it is just Medicare Millennials. So feel free to hop on there, follow us, because we're kind of doing a little bit of the small things on there, booking appointments, running appointments, things like that, that aren't so lengthy like some of these videos are here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe there as well.
Thanks, Ethan. Talk to you later, buddy.
Do appreciate it. See you, bud.